Oh, hell yeah, Lexi. That rules, actually. She's always on the move doing something, so I don't know. Like, yeah, it's a good call. All right, we're doing this in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 7th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Warner Brothers is trying to get out of video games yet again, but will anyone want to buy? But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing? If I had to put money on it, I would say it's Wednesday, but I really... Oh, no. Oh, he's muted. Okay. All right. Well, Jan Ochoa, everybody.
I don't know what day it is, Grubb. I'm just going to repeat the bit because no one heard the bit.
Yeah, no one heard it. It's still fresh.
No one heard it. It's still fresh bits. Grubb, I know we don't talk about politics too much on this website because we try and keep it as light as possible, right?
Sure, here and there, yeah.
Can I share a stupid joke?
Oh, please. I would love to hear it.
Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee for presidential whatever fuzzits, right?
That's the technical term as well, yeah.
She crowned or chose her VP.
Right, the chosen one.
The chosen one, Coach Tim Walz. That's what I'm going to call him affectionately.
Walls out.
Walls out. Deck the walls. Instead of being, I know Kamala gets criticized for being a DEI hire. Mm-hmm. I think Tim Walz is an REI hire.
Okay, there it is. Oh boy, he's wearing the camo. Jesus, get the hook on this guy. Drag him off the stage. Oh man, you put on a shirt for that.
I did. I was so proud. I got my REI coupon yesterday, and it just okay.
Get this guy the fuck out of here! Boo!
Boo! Boo! Oh, boy, thank you, Nick. Yeah, we needed that.
No, all right.
I'm feeling pretty good over here, though. Tim Walz guy seems pretty nice. I like him quite a bit.
How are you, Jeff Grubb? Otherwise,
I'm pretty good. I'm busy, but like last night the power went out, and it's like, I can't do just about anything. So I just it was like a good reset. It was out for a few hours, so it wasn't too bad.
Are you like full on Glenn Powelling right now? Are you chasing twisters?
That's the same thing as Winnie the Poohing, Glenn Powelling. Yeah. I was the twister came right at me, I guess. It was like the map of like where things started to go bad basically started right over my house and then went east. And so the good news there is like when I was like, I got to go get food, I could like just go a little bit west and everyone was fine and the restaurants were open and stuff like that. But over here, all the power was out and it hit me. And then it's like I was telling Mike, I'm like, Mike, power's out. I don't know if we could do our podcast tonight. And then his power went out as well. Thankfully, it all got restored relatively quickly. So no big deal. And the internet was back and all that. So, yep, we were able to get it done, but it was a little scary. Other than that, though, the kids did not like being like, hey, the weather's so bad you have to go in the basement. Because then they're like, that's the end of the world. Then. Yeah. Like they cannot parse that it's probably going to be okay. Although they start talking themselves out into that by the end.
Are the gimmicks too young to watch the original Twister?
I don't think they're too young. They're too young maybe to care. They're still very much in that age where if it's not animated, they almost don't want to watch. They're like, if it's live action, that is for adults. They're in that mindset in a lot of ways. That changes a little bit every once in a while, but for the most part, if it's live action, they sort of just tune out immediately. It's still all about Bluey and SpongeBob, and now Peppa Pig is coming out of nowhere.
Oh no!
Yeah, those surly little oinklets. It's wild over here now. So I don't know. We're enjoying ourselves still. I know. I'm hanging in there, Jan. How about you? Things going well for you?
No, terrible. Shoot terrible.
Excellent.
But we're hanging and clanging, baby. It's good. I think I can confidently say now that I guess 6 of us are headed to Gamescom.
Yep. So did everyone get everything's like booked and good to go?
I guess I'm taking a train.
At some point, you're going to be on a train. I think that's pretty normal for Germany, right? Like, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's pretty.
The only time I've ever been in Europe was 18 hours in Copenhagen with Dan. And that's yes, right. that is the name of my indie feature. It's on Indiegogo right now. Please fund it, please.
I'm excited. I won't be able to make it. I was trying to make it happen, but it conflicted with the first week of school, and Steph also has something that week. So I'll be at home taking care of the kids, but you'll be there taking care of our kids, the Giant Bomb kids. So that'll be fun.
I think about it, and I don't know why I wind up lumping myself and get lumped with having to be the parent of the group, despite being the youngest when we go on these trips. Tam and Lucy are, of course, going to be there representing GameSpot. We're representing the GB team. We will have Dan Reichert, Mike Minotti, and Bailey Myers.
That's right.
Headed out to Cologne, Germany. So I'm, if y'all got any recs for any miscellaneous touristy things, non-touristy things, sketchy alleys, holler at your boy.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. There was a chance we could have done some stuff with them, but we're out there for Gamescom. Like they're like, hey, you should come. We're like, okay, that's great. But it was such a last minute thing. Like we won't have like a stage presence or anything like that, but we'll be there or the team will be there hanging around. So if you see them, definitely say hi.
Yes. Also, I'm 90% sure PAX West is happening. We will have at least one panel there.
Yeah.
If you are interested in seeing some of the crew at PAX West this year.
Yep. And that's kind of pretty back to back. So a lot of the crew will be getting home and then immediately heading right back out. But we'll have more details on that here pretty soon. Let's go ahead and explain what we do here. Most weekdays, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start with PS5 hardware sales are on the decline, but Sony is still looking healthy. This comes from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. Sony's latest financial results for the Q1 period of its 2024 financial year, which run from April 1st to June 30th, are in, and the company has revealed that the PS5 has reached 61.7 million lifetime sales so far. In this quarter, 2.4 million PS5 consoles were sold, a figure that's down by 27% when compared to the 3.3 million PS5 consoles sold during the same period in the previous fiscal year. Overall, Sony says Q1 sales in its games and network services section were still up 12% year on year, resulting in a 32% increase in operating income. The company added that first-party sales and PlayStation Plus subscriptions grew, with 80% of the 53.6 million PS5 games sold in Q1 being digital purchases. Software sales brought in $3.3 billion in revenue, almost 20% growth year on year, but hardware revenue did decline by 21% to $990 million. Sony also reported 116 million registered monthly active users, an increase when compared to 108 million last year, but a decrease from Q4 fiscal year 23's 118 million. So a lot of just like small facts and figures in there that we can pick apart a little bit. Mostly, I think we could start with hardware down, console sales down, something that we've heard over and over again now across the board. It's down for the Switch. It's down a lot for the Xbox. And now it's down quite a bit for the PlayStation 5 as well. I think that when we look at the rest of the numbers, though, compared to that, like game sales are up. People subscribing to PlayStation Plus, that is also up. Just raw number of dollars made from all of these other segments in the gaming section for Sony are all up. I think that speaks to what's really happening here, and that is a lot of people bought a lot of PS5s very quickly, maybe more quickly than they would have in the past, because they felt a pressure to get it because there was that FOMO. It was so hard to find. It was the pandemic. There was a lot of factors that fed into people wanting to get on the PS5 train a little bit or as quickly as possible. And now those people are still here spending money on games. And so overall, PlayStation is pretty healthy, right?
Yeah, I think that also speaks to the trend that we've seen, Grubb, of people are still on their PS4s.
Yeah,
100%. The news that popped up on the podcast yesterday of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, an older game, popping out on Xbox One, and the PS4 is eye-opening in seeing that GTA Online, or at least GTA 5, a lot of their players are still on PS4. I think there hasn't been an incentive yet for maybe the mass gaming populace that didn't buy into the PS5 zeitgeist to adopt the PS5, that they're still on the PS4. They can still play Fortnite. They can still play Call of Duty, GTA, that they don't see the specific need just yet to upgrade. And especially if they are getting some of the newer titles trickle down to them eventually.
right.
And I'm assuming another factor that maybe we haven't necessarily considered for people sticking with the PS4 is that it can play games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail absolutely no problem.
Yeah, it doesn't struggle with those at all, and all those free to play games are definitely all out on PS4. Like, you would be kind of a fool to have a big free to play game that's not on PS4 at this moment. Yeah, and I think that speaks to, like, there will have to be some consideration about what the future of console generations look like, because there's probably going to be it's going to feel a lot more like this going forward than the stark jump from PS3 to PS4, which was just so many people left the PS3 behind to get on the PS4. Same with the Xbox 360, Xbox One even. It was very easy to forget about those old consoles very quickly. And now in this ongoing live service, games as a service, subscription world, the companies have been like, well, we wanted that continuity of revenue from our players, and that comes at a cost. That these players are going to feel more of an attachment to those systems where they are playing their hobby more than just the next new big blockbuster release.
Right. And, you know, we should factor in Destiny into that as well, because there hasn't really been that killer app for the PS5 for people to jump to, at least in terms of like a multiplayer game. Yeah. Sure, there's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Valhalla, but even Valhalla got trickled down to the PS4.
Yeah, but like Call of Duty's like coming out every year on PS4 still, like including this year.
And I don't even necessarily see. I'd love to see Astrobot push the needle in terms of PS5 sales, but I think that is something aimed towards the audience that already has PS5s. It'll move the needle for sure. The PS5 Pro, whenever that drops,
it's still this year. Apparently, that's what I've heard.
Still this year.
Heard a couple weeks ago. So yeah.
And I really hate to put all our eggs in the GTA 6 basket.
I know it seems unhealthy, but yeah, it seems like that's where they are, though. It feels like no one is like making that choice, but like it just is the way it is, and everyone has to deal with it.
Yeah. But it is, at least we do see a bump in software sales, and that at least informs us that gaming can still be healthy, right? Just in terms of hardware, it's a little sketch. I'd love to see the PSVR 2 numbers actually, Grubb.
Yeah, I think we know they're pretty rough, right? They're gonna, if we saw them, it would be like, oh, that is pretty grim in terms of hardware sales for that headset, and then very likely the games. Maybe there's one or two that have stood out and were able to sell tens of thousands of copies, maybe hundreds of thousands of copies, probably not a million copies anywhere, but most of those are probably going to be in the very low, like 5 digits, if that. Yeah, I think that when it comes to like what's the plan for Sony, I mean, they really are biding their time until a lot of their studios are ready to reload. They are likely trying to rethink a lot of stuff so they can avoid droughts like this in the future. As much of a drought as is. They had great games last year. They have great games this year. Astro is coming out this holiday. There's stuff to look forward to. And then if you like sit down and you do the game of this, what is this studio working on? Well, when did their last game come out? Like, what have we heard from them? A lot of those studios are going to be ready and raring to go in the next couple of years. So there's a lot to look forward to. Like, it's not grim for PlayStation. It's just they don't like this moment right here where they are in one of these situations where they have to kind of explain to their fans, you need to wait, because no one wants to hear that. They spent $500 quicker. Yeah. We just talked about that, more quickly than they would have in the past, because they felt a FOMO. And now that FOMO is maybe sort of fizzling a little bit. And they're like, oh, do I regret getting this? Most people probably don't. But Sony doesn't even want people asking that question. So I think that they'll get to a point where they will try to continue to put out more of these live service games to give people something to do in between. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a solution beyond that. Because I don't think we expect these studios to start making smaller games.
No, I start to wonder also who PlayStation could kind of put themselves in bed with, because I had a lot of acquaintances that wanted picking up a PS5 because they thought that was the only machine that could play Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
And I feel like PlayStation was hoping and betting that Final Fantasy 16 and FF7 Rebirth could have that same impact on hardware sales. But I didn't see that with like my normie friends that play games. And I can definitely see the forecast saying that next game that people associate that they need a PS5 for would be a GTA 6. But I'm trying to think what else PlayStation could kind of position themselves with. The answer is, Grubb, we keep saying GTA 6. I think the real answer is we need to open our hearts and our doors to Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah. Hey, I'll see if I have a heart still when I look at that game. I don't know if that's possible. I think that they're like, part of me is like, hey, Final Fantasy 7 remake and rebirth aren't doing it. Is Kingdom Hearts going to do it? But Kingdom Hearts does have that dedicated audience that is, that's all they think about is Kingdom Hearts. It's almost
there's dozens of us.
It's Pokemon in that way to a certain extent. And I don't know if it's not on the level of Pokemon in terms of being able to move markets and things like that. But I think that is when we like look back at this generation and these companies are like, okay, how do we improve what we did this generation? I think a lot, like especially Sony, will be looking at, hey, we have these big franchises, but do we have a Pokemon? Do we have something where it's like you have to get a Nintendo system if you're into Pokemon? And there's millions of people in the Pokemon, and there's millions more getting in every year because kids are growing up into Pokemon constantly. And you can't just manufacture one of those. But it doesn't even feel like Sony's working toward that idea in any real way. They just keep doing the prestige game. And they might be trying to, I think they're going to try to diversify in a new way. I just don't know what that looks like because it's very expensive to make games right now.
I honestly think they should try and diversify in a way where they are trying to target that younger audience. Because that younger audience is, and I'm speaking about like maybe Dib's age group, right? Where Fortnite is like a lot of flash in the pan. So it's appealing in that sense. But I don't know how much Dib is interested in playing Horizon, God of War, Uncharted, even, especially not The Last of Us. I don't know, Sony, throw some money at Nickelodeon. Give me a AAA Patrick Star SpongeBob title. Yeah. Give me Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, the co-op mode in that, but SpongeBob and Patrick.
Holy shit. That would be amazing. I would play the hell out of that.
Someone cut the check. Let me be a game producer. I don't know what to do. I just have fun ideas once in a while.
Guy. Yeah. This story from Darren over at GameSpot ends with like, there are several big third-party games scheduled to arrive later this year on PS5. But it's like Star Wars Outlaws, which I think is exclusive to the new gen, but then Call of Duty and EA Sports Football Club. And so many of those biggest games are just still coming out on both platforms, and that being PS5 and PS4. So it's so easy for so many people to just keep pushing it off, and it's just like we're in that gap right now. All right. Next story here. Warner Brothers is reportedly considering selling a stake in its video game business. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Warner Brothers Discovery is reportedly considering selling a stake in its video game business. That's according to Financial Times sources who claim the media giant is looking to offload smaller assets in an attempt to help reverse a near 70% decline in its stock price since Warner Media and Discovery merged in 2022. It's said to be considering offers to sell Polish broadcaster TVN or a stake in its video game arm, which is home to a dozen studios. That includes Avalanche Software, which made Hogwarts Legacy, Rocksteady, which made Suicide Squad, TT Games, which makes the Lego games, Mortal Kombat's NetherRealm, Monolith Productions, which has done Middle Earth. I think they are working on that Wonder Woman game now, if I'm not mistaken. Ugh. And Warner Brothers Games Montreal, which has done Gotham Knights and a previous Batman game. Last month, Warner announced that it had acquired Player First Games, the studio behind free-to-play platform fighter Multiverses, for an undisclosed sum. Warner Brothers Discovery exec J.B. Parrott said earlier this year that the company's games business revolves around 4 main intellectual properties, which are all billion-dollar-plus businesses themselves. They are Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, DC, and Harry Potter. While last year's Harry Potter spinoff Hogwarts Legacy was 2023's best-selling games, Warner Brothers took a $200 million loss on this year's once highly anticipated Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out. So, volatile business that they're in games, I think is how they're viewing it, where even when they have the biggest game, the biggest sort of miss is so big that it can swallow up all of the revenue made by Hogwarts Legacy. Which is probably is very frustrating for them.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe, Grubb, that folks at the top of Warner Brothers don't know how to business.
Yeah, it smells like that, huh?
It definitely smells like that, especially when you have Hogwarts Legacy and NetherRealm on your roster, let alone the Lego games, because like the Lego games are just like money printing machines.
I mean, I think
point.
that Star Wars Skywalker Saga game was very Hogwarts Legacy like in terms of its sales numbers. Yeah. It was massive.
Legitimately, it is one of the better Lego any games in a very long time. Yeah. And sure, Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights, major misses, but I think that is because people at the top had too much oversight and put too much of their capitalistic dirty hands on the game rather than just letting the devs do what they got to do.
Yeah, it was these studios are magic, and we have an idea that we want to like have them make a live service game or something that's more going to be more ongoing. We want the studio to work on that, and all the problems that are inherent to that idea. Well, the studio's magic, so they're going to make it work, and it's going to come together in the last minute, and it didn't work again.
That's A, too much trust, and B, too much pressure on that relationship between studio and the people at the top. Like the folks at Rocksteady do magic, but when you were forcing them to ham-fist a live service game into a Suicide Squad game, let alone the idea of a Suicide Squad game in 2023, feels a little bit dated, especially after, that original movie was poorly received. The second Suicide Squad movie just didn't perform well because of still being amidst the pandemic and having the name confusion. So I don't think there was too much excitement for a specific Suicide Squad game so many years after the original movie. So it kind of felt like it was doomed from the start, Grubb.
Yep. It definitely also has that stench about it. It's so, okay. Warner Brothers, not in love with the gaming business. I think that if everything was going great for them, I think they'd be like, look, we hit so hard with Hogwarts Legacy. Sure, we lost money this past year, but look at it. We're doing fine everywhere else. Let's keep taking this risk because we think when we do hit pay dirt on a good year, it could be a big win. But they're not in that position. Warner Brothers is falling apart constantly, as the story says. The stock price down 70% since the Warner Discovery merger, and it's David Zaslav just making bad choice after bad choice and not understanding any of the businesses that he's in. They are going to start rebranding Max Originals back to HBO Originals, for example. It's like they make a decision, it doesn't work out. Big surprise. We all sitting around be like, HBO is a great brand. Why is Max the one to watch for HBO? Either way, they're in dire straits, and so they got to get some money back, and so they're selling stuff. And this is not new. If people think this story is familiar, Warner Brothers was going to sell off the gaming business a few years ago, and there were a lot of rumors. Right. There were a lot of conversations with companies like Microsoft about, hey, we might buy one of these things. What do you think in Warner Brothers? And Warner Brothers is like, buy the studio, pay for everyone to make these games, and then license Batman from us. And everyone was like, That sucks. We're not going to pay that money. That's crazy.
I don't. How do they make money? How did they make money, Grubb? It doesn't seem right. Also, where am I supposed to go to if Max is gone, the one to watch for HBO? Where am I going to go?
I don't
Are
even know.
Are going to come up with a dumb brand called HBO Max?
Yeah, that's absurd. You can't do that. They're also in the process of suing the NBA for leaving them to go to Amazon, which was a lot of their TV money. Yeah, well.
Oh well, get fucked, Warner.
Yeah, good luck, Warner. Fucking, you couldn't make it. Apparently, Warner offered about the same amount of money as Amazon, but they're like, NBA was like, Amazon's the future, not Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley.
I like those two.
Yeah,
though.
they're the future in my heart, absolutely. Yeah, so like, I think everyone listening to this show understands that they wouldn't make that deal if you're like someone like a Microsoft or a Sony or EA, not Activision anymore. Any one of these companies that might be in a position, or even like a Google or one of the massive big companies, Amazon. If you are in a position to spend that much money, what is valuable is the IP. Because look what's happening with Bungie, where they spent $1 billion on employee retention, only to lay people off a few years later because things are unpredictable. But what these companies can understand is an investment in IP has a long-term value that they don't have to figure out right now. They can figure it out in the future, and that makes it slightly safer. So buying a studio to then have to take on that payroll and the insurance and all those headaches is very difficult, and it's almost never worth it to these companies if they don't get the IP with it. Now, maybe there is one that could go, maybe Mortal Kombat with NetherRealm. But otherwise, I don't see how this could really work for most of these companies. And I don't know, unless there's a fire sale here, unless they're like, well, we're
sure,
in football, we got the salary cap, right? So sometimes a team makes a deal where like, just take this player and give us, future considerations or some shit, so we can get this player's salary off of our books, because we're just trying to save money. We have to move things around to make these pieces fit. There is a situation where that could happen with Warner, where they're like, we're spending so much money on these studios that we don't want to close them. They do have some value, and we want them to work on our games. So we'll give you a sweetheart deal on the licensing and buying the studio, but you just have to pay these people to make the game. I could see that maybe happening, but Warner's trying to make money to pay their bills right now. They have a lot of debt. So it doesn't seem like that's the route it's going to go. I don't know. What do you think?
I could see that sweetheart deal rocking with Sony and PlayStation trying to grab Avalanche off of Warner Brothers' hands with how much Hogwarts Legacy did for the PS5. We were just talking about that. I could also see maybe PlayStation trying to pick up a studio like PlayStation, or maybe a Ubisoft trying to pick up a Rocksteady even without the IP attached, because so many of PlayStation's games, specifically Spider-Man, Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed, get compared to the Arkham style of combat. So why don't you just get that team in-house? You don't need the Batman IP because you have Assassin's Creed. Just throw a hood on someone. In PlayStation, make a new superhero, or have any of your existing friend IP be adopted. Give me a Blade game. I know that we have a Blade game coming up, but I just want more Blade.
I mean, and like Sony has the extended Spider-Man universe, right? So they have a deal to like a good relationship with Marvel to be able to get that if they wanted to. I know it's different between the games and the movies, but they're always investing in that stuff on the movie side. So maybe like having a team like that ready to go. Yeah, maybe. Someone in chat, like we've definitely talked about this before. Dizzy Hippos pointed out a good point that Superman and Batman are both about 9 to 11 years away, about a decade out from being in the public domain. So it's kind of, if you're gonna like sell a team that's known for making Batman games, and you're gonna have them make Batman games, like that's part of the deal. You kind of have to do it now. You have to do it now because this game's gonna take 5 to 7 years to make, and then that they get maybe one more bite of the apple, maybe after that. And then it's an open season on Superman and Batman, and everyone will be making those games. I can't wait till we get there. I gotta be honest, like that will be so exciting. It's been there are a lot of like public domain characters, like Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that, but we get a ton of great Sherlock Holmes stuff, but I feel like Superman and Batman feel like another level above that. So I'm interested to see how it plays out.
I can't wait till we spin off into a movie production company, Grubb, and we make Bat Grubb and Super Dan.
Oh, there it is.
Movies. There we go.
Yeah.
Grubb versus Super Dan. And then his name was Mike.
Game sent. Why did you say that name? All right.
Oh God. Yeah. I'll be the Alfred.
Perfect. Yes, that without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have you in the Grubb cave. It'll be a good time. I'm taking a new medicine, and I don't like the way that Liquid Death or Prime tastes anymore. It tastes weird to me. I don't know what's going on.
Medicine's weird.
Weird, or maybe Prime and Liquid Death are weird. Actually,
you know what? I think you're onto something, Grubb.
Yeah, I think it might be cured. All right, let's keep going here. Actually, you know what? Let's take a quick break. We got plenty more headlines. In fact, we're gonna skip this Half-Life 3 one because we mostly talked about this stuff, but Half-Life 3 could be happening. I don't know. We'll talk about other news right after this. All right, we are back. Let's get into this story right here. Star Wars Jedi Survivor for PS4 and Xbox One does launch on September 17th. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. The PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions of Star Wars Jedi Survivor will launch on September 17th for $50. This is from publisher Electronic Arts and developer Respawn Entertainment. Of course, they announced this, and digital pre-orders are available now. We've definitely had this conversation because this has been rumored for a long time, but now it's here, $50. This feels. I mean, if those consoles are still around and so many people are using them, this makes some sense to me. It's such a weird case because this game was a kind of a technical mess on the current gen consoles and still is to some extent on PC. And what I'm hoping is like this comes out and it gets updated everywhere else and it just runs better everywhere. And I'll just keep playing it where I have been playing it, and then people on these older consoles will get a chance to jump in. I don't know, any expectations for these things whatsoever?
I'm definitely worried about the performance of this, but for folks that the Star Wars freaks out there that have been curious and feeling FOMO, I'm happy for them for sure. I want to say maybe this shouldn't be $50 title, but
yeah, the $50 is like the budget title now, right?
I know that's the thing that hurts me inside, Grubb. But for that install base that for sure is a sizable audience, charging $50 is a no-brainer. Especially if folks have been clamoring for it. And this is a good game that's just been mired by like performance issues. I haven't checked it out on the Steam Deck in a long time, and I hope it's been improved.
Yeah, me too. I don't think it's ever going to run on a Steam Deck. I got it running somewhat on a Roger, but even that wasn't great.
But yeah, I hope that I hope the game is in a workable state where folks that pick it up on a PS4 or Xbox One are not boned by the performance.
Yep. I hope that they wouldn't do this if that was the case, but who knows? This clearly feels like, look, this game did pretty well to very well, and also they are making a third one, so they want these people who will probably be showing up to the PS5 party over the next few years and could be arriving right as the next one's coming out. They want them to feel like we're already caught up instead of being like, well, I didn't play the second one because it wasn't on the PS4 and I didn't have a PS5. So all the strategic reasons make sense. But yeah, I think there's also a chance that they're like, man, it would be nice if this was on the Switch 2 at launch, and let's get the work done on that. And by doing that, they just had the game ready to go for these consoles because it's probably going to be a pretty similar spec, at least on maybe like a PS4 Pro level for the Switch 2. So yeah, all that stuff lines up and makes sense. I think all of that will fly out the window though if we get those first few GIFs of the game breaking down, or the first few like Digital Foundry videos of like, this is an unplayable mess, which feels like it's in the cards still. So I'll be very curious to see how it all plays out. Balatro creator stipulates in will that game can't be used for gambling. This is from George Ying at GameSpot, and I think we did bring this up either on Bombcast or something else yesterday. Balatro creator Local Thunk said that they have put in measures to prevent the game from becoming a real gambling game even after their death. From the outside, this might make zero sense, but I hate the thought of Balatro becoming a true gambling game so much that when I recently created my will, I stipulated that the Balatro IP may never be sold or licensed to any gambling company / casino. They posted on Twitter. Now, that is a really cool move, and it's also something like these casino companies would give a lot of money for that, because they would they are trying to use video game IP to attract younger audiences, and Balatro is definitely a cool thing and would have that appeal in there. And it has mass appeal because Balatro is that successful. It just sold 2 million copies, yes, and also it's getting a big update. Someone in chat threw this in here. I think it was Jamie H. Christmas Eve who said who shared this from VGC. Balatro's first major gameplay update is teased as it hits that 2 million milestone. There's stuff coming this summer that will be big surprises for the game, is what the developer is saying. Balatro is chugging right along, but won't be in casinos, and I think that's very cool. What do you think, Jan?
Grubb, I was gonna. My Discord's kind of being funky, but
you're back.
Beautiful. It feels like adopting video game IP into gambling casino games should be illegal.
Yeah, it feels like that's something that would have been against the law like before Ronald Reagan, right? It
feels very predatory.
Yeah, the kind of thing where you can make these commercials that are just TV shows to sell kids toys, and hey, I'm not complaining. I love Transformers, but that slippery slope leads to this. Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah. But yes, if I was any of those video poker gambling machines, I see that Balatro is a poker themed ish game selling 2 million copies, I would have been rubbing my hands in trying to pay Local Thunk millions of dollars to get that IP into casinos. But good on the dev for putting the stop to that, because Jesus Christ, I would be dead.
And also for like carving out a space of saying, no, gameplay and gaming and video games and card games are fun on their own. And and poker is, despite it being 100% a casino game and something people can lose a lot of money playing, it is kind of a pure game in the way that it just works, and the bluffing and all this stuff. And let's take that feeling and play around in that space, and we should be allowed to do that without having to have considerations of like what's going on with casinos and gambling. In fact, we want to cut them out completely. So I really have a real soft spot for poker. I like poker a lot, and it's not something I'm going to spend a lot of time playing, because it could be a slippery slope for me personally. So having this fun little game that like has all of those elements built into it, I just really find that very appealing, and I'm glad that the game exists.
Honestly, I probably would be trying to play more poker if it wasn't for the gambling attachment to it. Don't worry, folks. I haven't been invited to any underground poker dens, but also TFTI if you run one and you know me. But it is that gambling aspect, that gambling stink that has kind of, I understand why folks would be put off by Balatro, but seeing that like, this is just a game you play by yourself. That could be super enticing. And I mean, you and I, Grubb, and also our coworkers, friends, know people have lost hours to that game.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Dozens, hundreds of hours. I know some people are just still playing it nonstop. And it's that good. It really is that good. Someone did mention that who knows if they're able to enforce this in perpetuity. Because once you're dead and you say, well, you can't use this, and your family takes over the IP or whatever, you can't control them anymore. So I'm sure that's not really the point here, though. I think to a certain degree. And I'm sure there's like lawyers listening that want to chime in and say, here's how it works. And you could do that. You can always do that. But understand that the point here is more human than legal. And it is that the creator wants to take ownership and draw a line in the sand. And we're all respecting that now. Who knows what happens in the future?
Yeah. I mean, part of the appeal when it comes to card games like Sabak is just screwing over people.
Yeah. Oh man,
It's cheating.
can't wait to play some sabacc and get an idiot's array and be like, I know what an idiot's array is because I'm that nerd.
Grubb, I'm telling you, if we ever all play sabacc in person, and I don't actually know how to play sabacc,
Yeah.
if that right, I will just turn into Lando Calrissian.
Hell yeah.
Jando Calrissian.
Okay.
Fuck.
I want that real bad.
Oh no, this is bad.
Dan's got a sabacc table, I think. I've been at his place. He's got everything, so I think he's got one of those. All right. Retro re-release studio Digital Eclipse says it is up for a collab with Nintendo. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Digital Eclipse might not necessarily be a household name for like certain other game studios, but the retro specialist has made a name for itself in more recent years with compilations like the Mega Man Legacy Collection and Atari 50, the Anniversary Celebration, as well as TMNT, the Cowabunga Collection. The company has teamed up with Japanese companies previously, so could we see it work on something related to Nintendo's first-party releases in the future? According to Digital Eclipse's Chris Kohler, shout-outs to Chris, big fan of you. Although nothing is in development, he says, the door on a possible partnership hasn't closed, and historically speaking, there are already some links. He spoke to VGC saying, speaking of white gloves, this is the question. Presumably, Nintendo isn't interested in a collaboration yet. And then Chris responded, well, historically, Other Ocean, who previously owned Digital Eclipse, did Minecraft 3DS edition for Nintendo. And we've done stuff with Nintendo as a company historically in the past. So I don't think the door is closed. So, we'll see what the future will bring. But certainly nothing is in development at this time. Nintendo, and Chris, I think, mentioned this later on in the interview. So it's like Nintendo handles its retro stuff on its own. Clearly, it had NES World Championship recently. It's got the new virtual console, Nintendo Switch Online, and stuff like that. But hey, an Atari 50 for Nintendo games, or one Nintendo game, just like Donkey Kong, I would pee my pants. I would be so excited. I would
also
that.
pee your pants.
Thank you. Yes, everyone, come over. We're peeing my pants. I want to see this.
It's funny because I do, prior to the Atari 50 stuff, in my head at least, I associate Digital Eclipse with a bunch of miscellaneous GBA titles.
Same.
So
I do too.
that in my head, that relationship is already there.
Yep.
And God, I don't know. I know Donkey Kong or Mario, Zelda, Metroid is obviously like the big choices, but I don't know. Let's go something weird, Grubb. Let's go Kid Icarus.
Yeah, Kid Icarus. I mean, even weirder, like the early arcade games, like a Radar Scope.
Oh,
let's. Hey, what? How? Like this game that turned into like all the cabinets got turned into Donkey Kong or whatever. Like, what was that story? Are there pictures? What was that process like? Like, talk to the people that were there. They're still working at Nintendo for the most part. Miyamoto, was directly involved in that. I would love one of these interactive documentaries, and that's for people that are like, what are they talking about exactly? If you don't remember, Atari 50 is that, and the Digital Eclipse has done that with a handful of other things.
Yes.
Karateka. There was the Llamasoft one. They've done this a few times now, and it would be, I think, very excellent for them to do that for Nintendo as well. And, maybe it's not the kind of thing where Digital Eclipse makes the whole project. Maybe it is.
Sure.
They'd have a feature built into one of these re-releases. We're coming up on 40 years for Super Mario Brothers, right? Just like, let Digital Eclipse contribute to that project.
I would love to see like a deep dive into Wario. Even, like
there's
Wario's
so
like
much.
Kirby. Right?
Yeah.
Let's do Kirby. Kirby makes sense.
Yep.
And we would hit the 40th anniversary of Super Mario, but I'm sure like Nintendo give Digital Eclipse the bag and just to like really prop up a tent pole to around some miscellaneous anniversary of a Nintendo IP and let them cook.
Let them cook. I would be very excited about that. All right. Arkane founder says Prey and Dishonored fans will be happy with his new game. This is from Tom Ivan at VGC. Arkane founder Rafael Colantonio thinks fans of Dishonored and Prey will be pleased with the next game from his current studio. Following 18 years at Arkane, during which he served as president and co-creative director, Colantonio announced in 2019 that he'd formed a new outfit called Wolfeye Studios. The studio's debut title, Weird West, was released in 2022. The dark fantasy reimagining of the Wild West is a top-down action RPG and immersive sim that earned scores of 76 on PC and blah, blah, blah. Colantonio began teasing Wolfeye's next game in March when it was described as a first-person retro sci-fi RPG. And on Tuesday, he said players will learn a bit more about the title imminently. So feels like maybe opening night live could be a place for that as part of Gamescom. We'll reveal a bit more on about our next game in a few days. Fans of the previous first-person games I was involved with, like Dishonored and Prey, will be happy, Wolfeye's president and creative director wrote on Twitter. This feels like the future of immersive sims, Jan, and I'm someone who's like hot and cold with immersive sims. It feels like it should be very much my game, and then I'll try some of them and it doesn't click right away. I think that happened with Prey, and I've gone back to Prey a couple times now, and it has clicked more. But immersive sims is a beloved genre. It is something that people who like those games really like, and Arkane was one of the outfits in town making big budget immersive sim games, and now immersive sim has kind of done that thing that RPGs did, where it's like it's finding itself into a lot of games in a lot of different ways and in a lighter sort of way. But if people want one of those pure immersive sims, they might have to turn to more independent studios like Wolfeye and a bunch of people who are inspired by people like Colantonio. And I find this something that is exciting. That I'm glad that we're here, where the tools are available for people to take these genre torches and keep carrying them forward. And in this case, it's one of the people that lit the torches originally. So I'm very happy to hear this.
Yeah, I can't say that all of these games have hit with me each and every time. I've always been Prey curious as well. But I'm happy that fans of the genre can continue to follow one of the people that really put the genre again on the map. Yeah, I don't know. I just want some weird stuff, Grubb. I want some weird stuff without the stakes that Dishonored feels like it has. Because there are times where Dishonored feels very super duper serious. I kind of want goofy crap like Hitman.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of looking for from Deathloop, but I mostly got it. I'm someone who really enjoyed Deathloop because what I want is a chance to go in the world and learn it, and then have a chance to use that knowledge. And Deathloop was exactly that game. Like, hey, well, let's go through this multiple times so you can do the bumbling first run where you notice the window that if you had done a little bit more exploring, like, oh, I could have came in through that window and came behind those guys and took them out, and don't clip that. And you could on the next run. So it feels like there is an opportunity to mess around with the structure of MSims, and they did that with the Prey DLC Moon Crash that people really like. So you could do that, but it feels like that is not something that's they're going to be paid for by one of these big companies to be a big AAA game anymore. And again, I think that's fine because I don't think that genre needs to look like the most expensive game ever made. It just needs to have all of those immersive elements where just you could stumble across someone's email, learn something, and use that knowledge in the game. And that's what people want.
Yeah. God, Deathloop, huh?
Yeah. I like Deathloop.
I kind of wish that game didn't have the multiplayer aspect of invading someone else's world.
Yeah, I get that. Kind of felt like the thing where like, this works in these other games. Why it should work here? That was a little strange. I think you could turn that off, right? But it was like they faked it then, right? It was like an AI NPC that would play as the enemy instead. Yeah. I don't know. There is a Deathloop 2, I think, that is very refined, that sort of gets everyone on board. But I don't know if that game's probably never going to get made. Yeah. All right. Finally, here, Sunsoft is back. Retro game selection confirmed for English release in the West. I think that's the name of the collection. Is Sunsoft is back: retro game selection. This was previously announced for Switch in Japan, is now confirmed it for English release in the West as well. It'll come to North America and Europe on September 6th, 2024. It'll have a selection of games, Ripple Island, The Wing of Medulla, a whole bunch of other stuff. And it will have quality of life features, save states, rewind, gallery mode, things like that. I like these old studios getting a chance to bring these things back. Switch seems like a good platform for that. It's worked a bunch of times, so very cool. Yeah, those bangers, exactly, mechanized. It's probably not the old NES Batman game because of the licensing. But hey, Sunsoft did a good job on that.
Okay. That's where the name Sunsoft feels familiar.
Yes, that's where you definitely would have once seen it, is the Sunsoft logo before that Batman with the digitized the Joker image or whatever. Mm-hmm. Wing of Medulla Oblongata. English is not supported on Steam, says Dizzy Hippos. Okay, well, that's a bummer. I guess get it on Switch then. That does it for the news. We got a poll question I'm going to bring up here in a second. In fact, I think I got it right here. Nope. No, I got it. There we go. The question was, do you feel like that's the new one from 4 minutes ago. Do you think we'll ever get a Half-Life 3? 73% said no. 27% said yes. People have lost the faith on this one, Jan. I don't blame them.
No, of course. I definitely don't blame them. I feel like we're closer to a Portal 3 than we are to a Half-Life Episode 3.
Right. I think they just put so much on what Half-Life needs to be, and there was diminishing returns, and Half-Life 3 can't be the victim of diminishing returns, I think, in Valve's eyes. At a certain point, they get over that, though, and I think we might be here. There is, the story is, there's leaked data that suggests a new Half-Life could be made, and more data was found by Tyler McVicker, who does a Valve news channel on YouTube, that says it's probably not a VR game and could be the full new, like, follow-up, like, brand new big Half-Life thing. And if that's not Half-Life 3, it's something else, like, equivalent to, like, an Alex, but not in VR. And that's pretty cool. So I'm getting my hopes up yet again. But I don't blame people who are not ready to do that until they know for sure.
My only real exposure to Half-Life is just playing Half-Life 2 on the orange box.
That's right.
I can't say that it grabbed me as a youth. I wound up jumping to TF2 and Portal more. But
sure.
Hey, eventually it'll come out.
Yeah,
eventually.
Well, when I say I will play that Black Mesa. That was the remake, right? Yeah, I'll do that.
Quick impromptu poll,
please,
for the folks watching live, Grubb.
Yeah.
What do y'all think we will see sooner? A Half-Life Episode 3 or Beyond Good and Evil 2? And I just want to, just throw what y'all think in the chat, and I'm curious.
Yeah, but the new Half-Life or the new Beyond Good and Evil. I kind of lean towards Beyond Good and Evil as well. Everybody, most people are saying that.
Funny.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a handful of Half-Life 3s in here. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm getting my hopes up, but I'm not expecting this game to be out like next year or anything. So,
whatever the public expectation of Half-Life Episode 3 is going to be radically different than what we will eventually get, because there is no way whatever was on the design docs and the blueprints for Half-Life 3 is the same as it would be now.
Yes, after Half-Life 2 Episode 2, they probably did have a blueprint, and all that stuff certainly is out the window now. Yeah. Okay, new poll question. Do you feel like PS4/Xbox One support is still holding back new gen game releases? Yes, no, and I never felt that way. I'm like, that's the gen for audio listeners is like rocking back and forth, like unsure. And I'm like kind of in that zone too now, but we can talk about it on the show when we get the results tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we'll have plenty of stuff on Giant Bomb between now and then. We're going to have, Blight Club, like Grubba is today. There is a chance I could finish the game today. We'll see. I'm hopeful because I'm ready for Mike's game. I'm ready for him to play instead. Yep. And I've been getting the art. Good work from Jerem. I've been sharing it immediately. I'm just so excited. I don't want to spoil it. We did mention on Bombcast it's for the Wii. So it's going to be Waggle. Dan got confirmation it was delivered today. So as long as Mike McQuanchi sees that it's addressed to him and doesn't open it, he'll be surprised when that happens on Blade Club very soon. But plenty of other stuff happening on the site. We'll have voicemail dump truck, UPF, BCR.
Power Bombcast tomorrow.
We will talk about...
No BCR this week.
Oh, no BCR. That's right. Power Bombcast week, everybody. So tune in for that. All right. Anything else, Jan, that I missed that we should talk about?
No. Just as you say at the end of this show, Grubb, we have a lovely audience, and it makes coming into work great.
That's exactly right. Until next time, everybody, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
That was for you.